It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thank you so much for joining me this weekend as we talk about real estate here in the Charleston area. If this is your first time tuning into this program, let me just give you a little idea of what this show is all about. We talk about residential real estate. We talk about housing in general and the issues that surround it. So that might be anything from political to market stats. I've been a real estate agent for 11 years. In that span of time, I have certainly sold real estate on my own, and now I have built a team of 15 people. We've already sold over 100 homes this year. We're on track to sell about 250 homes this year, about 1,000 in our career. So I take that experience and then I relay that to you as somebody thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or that just wants to stay informed with the market. So we tell you some stories. We tell you what's going on in the market. We're certainly going to do that today. We are going to share some market data with you, which we get once a month from the Charleston Trident Association of Realtors. We're going to talk about a lot of things this morning. We're going to bounce around a little bit from topic to topic, but we are going to talk about residential real estate. So just a few housekeeping items. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Yes, I'm in the studio an hour a week. Outside of that, I am selling real estate just like everybody else. So I invite you to give me a call if you're interested in learning more about working with myself and my team. I can be reached on my cell phone at 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can go on that website and learn more about myself, my team, read some testimonials, search the MLS. Any property or vacant land available for sale can be viewed on my website. You can listen to versions of this radio show, and of course, you can contact me through that website. So listingsincharleston.com. So what we're going to talk about over the next hour is as follows. We first and foremost want to give you an idea of what's going on in this market, and I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Not much has changed. It's still a red-hot market. It's still very much a seller's market, but we're going to talk about a few things within that market that I think you need to know, especially if you're a buyer. We're going to talk about homeowners associations. I think there's a lot of confusion around homeowner associations, especially as it relates to the difference between owning a house in a neighborhood versus owning a condo in a condo regime. So we're going to talk about those differences, and I'm going to give you some tips. If you're going to buy a property in one of those developments, in one of those planned developments, there are some things that you have to know before you buy a property there. I'm going to give you all of that information. And then we're going to talk about the Remodeling Magazine's cost versus value report for 2017. Every year, Remodeling Magazine puts out a report that they track 29 different projects across 99 different locations across the country, and they track the cost of the project versus realtors' opinion of value on that project, or the amount by which the value of the real estate would increase compared to the cost. And so I have those statistics for Charleston, South Carolina. Believe it or not, they focus specifically on Charleston. So I have that report. If you don't have the ability to stick with me toward the end of the program, you're invited to go to listingsincharleston.com and go to the contact page. Just say Remodeling Magazine report, and I will email that report to you. But it's important information. It's something you need to know if you're going to renovate to stay or renovate to sell. I'm a big fan of spending money where it counts to get you the most money back in the event you need to sell your house. So that's what we've got planned. Again, if you want to reach out to me, 843-345-1273, 345-1273 is my cell. You can call or text that, or listingsincharleston.com is the website. So let's talk about the market. Home prices across the board, nationwide, are reaching all-time highs. It's prompting some worry, I think, over whether or not we're about to hit another kind of boom or bust scenario like we experienced roughly a decade ago. But as we look at residential real estate, what is clear compared to this last extended run we had, over a decade ago, where our market was improving significantly at an accelerated rate. What's different now compared to then? Really a few things, but one of the things that's really different is the lending environment. You still have to have a decent credit score. You still have to put some money down when you buy your house. Gone are the days of no documentation or stated income, stated asset loans where you can borrow 105% of the value of the real estate. I helped so many people out of bad situations. Really, when I first got into this business, actually, I got licensed in September of 2006. And I was a new agent. I was, 21. I turned 22 later that month. And as a very young person in a very hot market, I found some deals. I started doing a good job. And then, of course, the market crashed. And so I specialized in foreclosures and short sales, and I very quickly accelerated to, the top of my class, not to brag, but I specialized in those things. I knew a lot about foreclosures and short sales. I became an expert in it, and I started helping people either take advantage of situations to purchase homes, either as a primary residence, second home, or investment property. But I also helped a lot of people get out of very bad situations by negotiating with banks on their behalf to sell what we call as a short sale, meaning they owed more than the house was worth. They were behind on payments. They couldn't make the payments. There was some sort of issue that prevented them from being on time on their mortgage. And so I'd help them out of that process. And most of the time they owed nothing to the bank. So it's a lot different now than it was then. There are still some fairly stringent loan approval guidelines and processes that you have to follow. So I'm not necessarily concerned about us falling into that same trap we did about a decade ago. But what's really interesting and is real, just kind of, it's still one of the main points of conversation with regard to the housing market is tight supply. I mean, finding adequate supply is still an issue in most markets, not just locally, but across the country. And frankly, demand continues to overwhelm supply. I mean, there are some signs of improvement in new construction. Some builders out there are kind of sensing that the extended trend of low inventory is going to equate to some opportunity and some profit for them. So they're building like crazy. Obviously, if you live here, you've seen all the new construction go up. I mean, drive through Johns Island. My God, there's a lot of new construction on Johns Island. And rightfully so. Land is fairly cheap. You can build and sell property at a profit, and they're turning over like hotcakes. 1 in every 3 sales, they're increasing the price. So new construction is doing well, but the bottom line is inventory is still an issue. I mean, if you look at inventory at the end of May this year compared to the end of May last year, we're down 16%. If you look at the overall month's supply of inventory, which takes into account not just the amount of homes for sale, but the rate by which they're selling, we're actually down 23% from last year. But in addition to a strong real estate market, we also have a pretty strong overall economy. I mean, it's in better shape than it was a decade ago, certainly. More jobs are available. Unemployment's relatively low. People have faith in not just the stability of their job, but in their ability to get a wage increase at some point in the future. But really, the big story here is inventory or lack thereof. But let me tell you what's going on specifically in what we call the Tri-County area, Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester County. I'm just going to read off some stats and give you guys an idea of where we are year to date versus the same amount of time in 2016. So if you look at new listings, properties that have hit the market, we're about 4% above where we were this time last year. Pending sales, meaning properties that go under contract, is up 9%. Closings are up 8%. Last year, it took about 64 days on average to sell a home. Now they're selling in 60. Not a huge difference there. But the median sales price is up 5.5%. And I think that's a little more than what people had anticipated it being if you'd had asked them in January. I'd say they were probably harboring around 3-4%. Now, that's not for all markets. Again, this is a culmination of the Tri-County area. There are certainly areas that are appreciating at faster than 5.5% per year. There are also some areas of Charleston that are starting to stagnate. We're starting to see some inventory creep back up, and it's causing buyers to say, all right, well, if they're not going to take this offer, then I'm going to go down the street and I'm going to offer on something else that's very similar. We're starting to see that a little bit in some areas of Mount Pleasant. And if you're scratching your head on that one, do the research. Look at the market stats, and you'll find it. There are some pockets in Mount Pleasant that are starting to reach some equilibrium. If we look at the percentage of original price received, we're at 96.5% of the listing price in terms of what it's going to sell for. And then again, inventory of homes. Last year this time we had 6,300 homes available for sale. Now we've got 5,300. So we've lost 1,000 homes. And we don't really have that many to choose from. And so it's always interesting to talk about the market with people, because people always ask me, hey, Brian, how's the market? Tell me about the market. And what they're fishing for there, I think, is they're looking for some sign of change. Are we just going to continue to be in this seller's market perpetually, or are you seeing some signs of our market starting to shift? And frankly, by and large, no, I'm not seeing much of a shift. It's still very much a seller's market. It's evidenced by how challenging it is as a buyer to purchase a property, especially one of those properties that hits the market, it's in good condition, it's priced right, it's marketed right, and boom, it sells very quickly. I mean, I was looking at some stats this week because the seller was asking us, some performance-based stats. We've sold about 120 listings over the past 12 months, sellers we represent, and over half of the closings that we had sold in less than 30 days, and 1/3 of all listings we sold in less than 2 weeks, which is pretty good. But it's evidenced by the fact that there's just not a lot of inventory out there. So you price it right, you market it right, you market the heck out of it, actually. You make sure it's in good condition, then it will sell. And so when we come back, I want to tell you a very short story about a conversation I overheard as it relates to an agent and a buyer talking about a multiple offer situation. I want to give you some insight into this conversation and give you some tips. If you're going to buy something here in the short term, there are some things you need to know about this market. There are some things you need to know as well about the real estate agent that you choose to represent you to help you purchase that property. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you want to talk about real estate, my number is 843-345-1273. That's my cell. You can call or text that, 345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, Charleston. I'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for tuning in this morning as we talk about Charleston here in the Low Country. If you're just tuning in, we just went through some market stats. If you're curious to know what your home is worth, or you just want to get some updates on the general area, you want to kind of stay informed with some trends within your specific area of our market, feel free to give me a call. I set up people on searches for real estate in their neighborhood so they can see what's hitting the market, what's going under contract, what's selling. I do it all the time. It takes me 5 minutes. So if you want to stay informed with values in your neighborhood, or of course, if you're thinking about selling your house, please give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And you can submit your information there. You actually can go on that website and submit your address, and it will shoot out an automated value on your house. Now, it's a guess based on comps. If you want to get really accurate, we have to have a conversation about the condition and upgrades within your home. But the website does do a fairly good job within a few percentage points of telling you what your house is worth. So feel free to take advantage of that tool, listingsincharleston.com. So right before we took a break, I was telling you that obviously as a buyer, it's challenging in this market to get a good deal on some real estate. Don't get me wrong, the deals are out there, but they're few and far between. More often than not, if you're a buyer in this market, if you find a home that's priced well, it's in good condition, it's being marketed well, the listing agent is doing all the right things, and the seller has done all the right things to prepare their home to sell, not only will it more than likely sell quickly, it will more than likely sell with multiple offers. I was mentioning before we took a break that I had to provide some performance metrics to a potential client that we ended up hiring us, and I looked at the sales that we had in an area And over the past 12 months, we'd sold like 120 listings, sellers that we represented, and over half of those closings occurred in 30 days or less, and a third of them happened in 2 weeks or less. And by the way, the average difference between list price and sales price was just 2%. They were selling for 98% of asking price. So it's not like we're underpricing properties to sell them quickly. We're just doing a good job for folks. But it's also a sign of the market. So if you're a buyer, listen carefully. I overheard a conversation, I'm not going to say where or with whom, but I was listening to a real estate agent talk with their client, or tell a story rather, where they were talking with their client about a property that they went to go see. And it was in a hot area of our market. I think it was in Somerville. And this was, $200,000-ish house. And so they go and they view this property. They like it. They love it. They want to make an offer on it. And so as the real estate agent is preparing an offer, they call the listing agent. They say, hey, just so you know, we're preparing an offer on your house. Is there anything else you can tell me about the property that's important? And do you have any offers in hand? And the listing agent said, actually, we have several. So you still have time to make an offer, but it would be with the understanding that we are already in a multiple offer situation. So the agent representing the buyer goes back to them and they say, look, here's the deal. They're in a multiple offer situation already. I know you love this house. I know you want this house to be yours. So what do you think about this? And the buyer says, well, what do we have to do? How much do we have to pay? And this agent says, well, you're definitely going to have to go over asking price. How much are you comfortable paying for this house? And without getting into all the details, frankly, I don't know all the details, but I'm thinking about this and I'm just thinking to myself, wrong strategy, wrong move there. Asking a buyer how much they're willing to pay for real estate is not value. That is not representation. What should have happened, and this is why I want to tell this story, is because in this market, it is very easy for buyers to get so excited and so emotionally invested in a house that they overpay for it. And that's unacceptable, in my opinion. My team does not operate that way. You know what we would have done? We would have said, okay, I know you want to make an offer on this house and you want to do it quickly, but first and foremost, we have to do an analysis on this house to tell you what we think it's worth. Then from there, should you choose to pay more than what it's worth, then you certainly can, but our advisement is going to be to pay what we feel the market would bear for it should any other buyer be willing to come along and purchase it. So you need to set the baseline on what this house is actually worth. Just going up to somebody and saying, hey, how much do you want to pay for this real estate is, frankly, it's ridiculous. But agents are doing it all the time. You know why? Because they don't want to have to get back in the car and show you 10 more homes and use this shotgun blast approach to, well, do you like this? No. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Do you like this one? No. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Rather than saying, what is it exactly that you like and don't like about this house so that I can continue to hone my search for your next home. And then when I find it, not only are you going to know about it because I'm sending you an email about it, but I'm also going to call you and say, hey, did you see the property on 123 Elm Street? It looks to be perfect. How quickly can you meet me at the house? I'm going to have everything prepared, including my market analysis, so that if you like it, we can make an immediate offer on it. That is the kind of service that buyers need in this market, and that only comes from somebody that's been around the block for a while. I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years. I know how to help people make a decision, but people don't want to feel rushed. It doesn't matter what kind of market we're in. People do not like feeling rushed. You know what they equate that to? Me being a pushy salesman. And I am not a pushy salesman. I'm here to help people realize their dream as it relates to real estate by providing extraordinary service and value. And in order to do that, you have to be prepared. You don't just go to somebody and say, how much do you want to pay for this house? Well, there's multiple offers on it, so you definitely have to pay more than what they're asking. So what's your comfort level there? That's not sales to me. So sorry about that rant, but you have to understand these things in this market because it's very easy to get swooped up in the emotion of buying real estate. Let's be real. Real estate is an emotional purchase. This is where you're going to call home for the next however long, how many years you're going to live there. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 30. Who knows? Growing up in the house that we lived in, with our parents, a lot of them are still there. my generation at least, we're not buying a house and living in it for 20, 30 years. We're living in it for, I think the average is 5.6 years is the national average for how many years somebody lives in a home before they sell it. So you need to understand that if you're going to be in this market as a buyer, you need to hire a real estate agent that knows how to navigate this market and knows how to navigate a multiple offer situation. And to reiterate what I just said, the only way to do it and have the buyer feel comfortable about it is to do your homework, to understand the market, to speak intelligently with your client about the market, but to advise them, not to push them or rush them to make a decision for fear of losing out on a sale or for fear of them losing out on the house that they really like. Just because you really like something doesn't mean you should pay above asking price for it. Their asking price could be ridiculous. So you have to do your homework. You have to find out how much it's worth. And then you have to formulate an offer strategically in order to not only buy the house, you've got to make an attractive enough offer to secure the deal. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you can go in there and say, okay, well, I know there's multiple offers and they're listed at $250 and I think it's worth $240. So let's just try $225. That's probably not going to fly, unless the other offers are just ridiculous. But more often than not, those offers are going to be pretty good offers, especially if there's more than one. So as a buyer, if you're thinking about buying a property in this market, I encourage you to first and foremost interview the agent that's going to help you buy that house. So often I hear of people that end up working with us and they say, yeah, we were working with this agent for a period of time and it was just, here's basically what was happening. He was sending us emails. We would see a property we liked. We asked him to go and show it to us. He'd walk us through the house. He'd say, do you guys want to make an offer? And that was it. And that's what most agents do is they set up this search. It's like this set it and forget it mentality of tell me what you want. What's the price range, location, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage? Okay, great. Now I can construct a search on your behalf and I can have the MLS send you properties without me having to do anything. So once you see something you like, just let me know. I'll show it to you. If we like it enough to make an offer, then we'll talk about making an offer. There's just not a lot of value between that. And so that's what we strive to do differently. It's about communication and it's about experience and it's about value. It's about customer service. So if you're thinking about buying a house in this market, I urge you to interview the agent and ensure that they are experienced and that they know what they're doing. They need to have sales under their belt, significant numbers of sales under their belt. So if that's something we can help you with, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's my cell. Again, 843-345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's my website, listingsincharleston.com. And submit your information there. Check us out. Check out our team. I've got 15 people on our team. We'll probably sell 250 homes this year. So we're in our market in a big way. We're doing a great job for folks, and we'd certainly love to earn your business. So 345-1273 or listingsincharleston.com. When we come back, I'm going to talk about HOAs, things you need to know if you're going to buy a house in a development with a homeowners association. So stick around. There's a lot of good information in this segment coming up right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Broadcast Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday mornings at 10 on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Again, I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with me if you've been with me since the beginning of this program. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this show. As I continue to have conversations with folks that are interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or real estate agents or people in the real estate industry, it's just humbling to listen to people say that they're listening to the program and that they're drawing some value from it. So I appreciate that. I work hard to make sure that this program is informative, not salesy. I just want to tell you guys what's going on in this market and increase your knowledge in this field, educate you so that you're an informed consumer. I think we could all benefit from having more informed consumers in the real estate world. So that's what this show is designed to do. I enjoy doing this show, and I hope it shows. So thank you very much for tuning in. If I can help you with buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you want to hire a real estate agent, a top real estate agent, I'd invite you to give me a call. We've been in the top 1% of agents now since 2009. We're approaching almost a decade of being in the top 1% of agents in this market. So if you want to reach out to me and talk about real estate, my number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. And my website is listingsincharleston.com. All right, I want to talk about HOAs. I don't have enough time to tell you everything you need to know about purchasing a home in an HOA. There's just not enough time on this program. I could talk about it for probably hours. There's so much information out there. But what I do want to do is condense that information into a few minutes here and give you some things that you should consider if you're going to buy either a house, condo, or townhouse in an HOA. So when you buy a house or a condo or a townhouse in a planned development, you are obligated to join the community's Homeowners Association, the HOA, and you have to pay monthly or annual HOA fees for the upkeep of things like common areas and landscaping, insurance, amenities, a variety of things. If you're considering purchasing one of these types of properties, you should be aware of certain things. So first, let's just talk about what HOAs are all about. I mean, if you're buying a condo, as an example, the more upscale the building and the more amenities it has, the higher the HOA fees are going to be. So in addition to monthly fees, if a major expense, such as a new roof or a new elevator comes up, and there aren't enough funds in the HOA's reserves to pay for it, then guess who's going to have to foot the bill? You as the owner. So think, because multiple parties live in the same building or complex, all residents, of condos and townhomes are equally responsible for maintaining the common grounds, landscaping, elevators, swimming pools, clubhouses, parking garages, sidewalks, security gates, roofing, building exteriors, all that stuff. So many of these are common areas, which include things like pools and tennis courts, and that might also exist in subdivisions of single-family homes. But regardless of whether the HOA governs a building, such as a condo or a townhouse, or a neighborhood of individual homes, HOA fees, by design, I would say, are designed to help maintain the quality of life, quote unquote, of the community's residents and protect values for all homeowners. So in addition to maintaining common areas, HOAs also set out certain rules that all residents have to follow. They're called covenants, conditions, and restrictions. They're also called CCRs. So in a common building, an example of rules that might apply would be things like what color you can color your front door, whether or not you're allowed to line dry your laundry outside, whether you can have a satellite dish, the size of dogs, whether you can even have dogs, so on and so forth. So in many cases, these rules are similar to the kinds of rules that you would expect if you were renting an apartment. Now, in a subdivision with individual homes, regulations might include things like what color you can paint your front door, what color you can paint your house, what kind of landscaping you can do, whether or not you can install a fence, what kind of fence, how high can the fence be, whether you can fly an American flag. I mean, there's a bunch of different things that go into these CCRs. What kind of window coverings you can have on the inside of your home, on the windows that face the street. I'm telling you, some of these HOAs, they're a little ridiculous, but that's just to name a few. So if you want to do anything that differs from those rules, you have to convince the HOA to grant you something called a variance, which is probably unlikely. So no matter where you live, you're likely subject to city ordinances and restrictions that are related to the use of your property, but HOAs add another layer of it. And the HOA is there to enforce those rules. So here are a few things you need to know if you're going to buy a property in an HOA. First and foremost, you have to learn the rules. You're going to be able to find the covenants and restrictions, the CCRs, most of the time online. You might have to ask the seller. You might have to call the HOA and get a copy of those CCRs. But you need to pay particular attention to the rules regarding fines and whether the HOA can foreclose on your property for non-payment of HOA dues or fines that result from CC&R regulation or violations. You also have to learn about the process for changing or adding rules and whether HOA meetings are held at a time and date that you can attend and have a voice in. If the rules are just too restrictive, you need to consider buying somewhere else. I mean, I told a story about a year and a half ago about this development that prevented a homeowner from flying an American flag. And not to get too political, but I'm not going to live in a neighborhood where I can't fly an American flag. Excuse me, I'm putting my country's flag up. Thank you very much. Number 2, make sure the house you buy is not already out of compliance with the HOA rules. I mean, buying into an existing problem could be a huge headache. We almost bought into a house with an HOA issue on a previous home that I owned. And we got it resolved, but it would have resulted in massive fines. There were already fines built up from the previous homeowner for not complying with the CC&Rs. So those are some things you need to watch out for. Number 3 is you have to assess environmental practices, meaning if you want to put a solar panel on your roof, or you want to put out a garden, or you want to have compost piles, or do some of those things, check the HOA rules. You might not be able to do it. One of the big things that I say, and this list isn't in any particular order that I came up with here, but you need to consider your temperament. If you're the type of person who hates being told what to do and is the type of person that rather asks for forgiveness than permission, then I'm just telling you right now, an HOA might not be for you. I mean, they can really be your worst nightmare if you don't follow the rules. I mean, if you're the type of guy that takes out his trash on a Monday and you get around to it on a Wednesday or a Thursday, you're going to rack up some fines quickly in some of these neighborhoods. And they're going to come in to the tune of $100, $150 a pop. Fun stuff, right? Not trying to scare you out of HOAs, because there are plenty of great HOAs out there, but it also depends on how they're run. Something you need to find out, of course, is, how much are the fees? How often are they collected? Can they increase? How often can they increase? Check out their budget. Do they have reserve funds to pay for things that are going to come up as regularly scheduled maintenance in the future? I mean, if you buy into a condo project and their reserve funds are looking very dismal, and you need a new roof, and you need new windows in the development, guess who's going to have to pay for that? You're going to have to pay a percentage for that project based on your percentage ownership interest in the development as a whole, because you own a fair share of the common elements of the building, a roof being a common element, which means that everybody in the development is going to have to pay a percentage to put on a new roof. It's called a special assessment. So you need to find out, are there any special assessments upcoming? Have there been any in the past? Are there any major upgrades that they're planning for in the future? Does the reserve fund allow for that? Compare the HOA fees to other developments. Are they higher? Are they lower? Why? Things you need to look into. You can also get a copy of the minutes from the last HOA meeting before you buy. You can read through that. You can look at things like, are there any current or past conflicts? What's the process for resolving those conflicts? Have they sued anybody? Are they being sued? Be on the alert too for potential drama. Some of these people that sit on HOA boards, first of all, I will say that if you serve on an HOA, it is the most thankless job on the planet, or one of. I'm not going to say, the most, but certainly one of them. And it's either people that are trying to make a difference that have no idea what they're getting themselves into before they join a board, or they're people that just, they're a stickler for the rules and they run the neighborhood the way it's supposed to be run and they do a good job. But then you always have the people that get on their little power trips and they pull up their pants as they're walking down the street and they're looking for, they're putting a ruler inside your grass and saying, all right, well, this blade's over 4 inches. Boom, fine. That's an extreme example, of course, but you know what I'm getting at. There are people that just like that power trip and they're just drama-related people. I can't stand that kind of stuff. So you have to watch for that, but you also have to watch for undermanagement. It's not all HOAs are overmanaged. The opposite problem may be that an HOA is just not enforcing any of the rules. And so let's say you buy into a neighborhood because you like order. You like for things to be neat and concise and for people to, kind of play by the rules. And then your next door neighbor starts rebuilding their boat engine in their front yard and it's been there for 4 weeks. And you've got all your family and friends coming over for a pool party for your son's 2nd birthday. And you've got this big heap of trash in your neighbor's yard and it makes your yard look trashy. Does it sound like I've maybe been through that before, by the way? So that, find out if they're being managed well or if they're being undermanaged. Ask neighbors if they've had any issues with the HOA. And then one of the big things here is consider the impact of HOA fees on your short and long-term finances. If you're buying into a development where you don't need all these bells and whistles, you don't need a tennis court and swimming pool and racquetball court and, a ton of landscaping and a secured entry gate and this, that, and the other, you're going to pay for it whether you use it or not. So maybe you look at a different development that doesn't have all those bells and whistles that you're not going to use. Or if you're going to buy that development because you like that development, guess what? They're not going to change the rules because you don't use those amenities. The fees are what the fees are. So the bottom line is HOA associations, they can be your best friend when they prevent your neighbor from painting their house neon pink, but they can also be your worst enemy when they expect you to perform excessive or expensive maintenance on your home that you don't think's necessary, or impose rules on you that you just find to be too restrictive. So before you buy a property subject to HOA rules and regulations and fees, just make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. One of the best things that I can tell you to do is read those CC&Rs, read the bylaws, and look into the accounting of that HOA. So as I mentioned, I can't go through everything that you need to know with regard to an HOA, but those are the bullet points, and that's a pretty decent amount of data in a 12.5-minute segment. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a property, you have some questions that are HOA related, or of course you're just looking for a real estate agent that's that detail-oriented and experienced, then I invite you to give me a call. 843-345-1273 is my cell. You can call or text me on that number, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around as we have one more segment to talk about here, the cost versus value associated with remodeling your home. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this because I'm going to tell you, based on each individual project, the average cost versus the average return on investment. So stick around. That is coming up next, right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, heard on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me this morning as we talk about real estate. I want to take as much time as possible to review the Remodeling Magazine Cost versus Value Report for 2017. So I'm going to jump right into this. If you don't have time to listen to the end of the show, go to my website. If you want a copy of the Cost versus Value Report for Charleston, South Carolina, believe it or not, they actually have stats for Charleston, South Carolina based on the project cost and then the associated value for mid-range and upper-level renovations. But if you have time to stick around, some really good data coming your way here in the next few minutes. So every year, Remodeling Magazine does this Cost versus Value Report, and this is the 30th year that they've done this. And the goal of the report is fairly simple. It's basically to provide an unbiased third-party report on how much it's really going to cost for a professional to do any type of remodeling project, as well as how much a real estate agent believes that project is going to increase a home's value if it's sold within a year of when the work was completed. So if you divide the project's value into its cost, then you get a sense, of course, for your bang for your buck or the return on the investment. So they looked at 29 different project types in 99 different markets nationwide. And again, Charleston, South Carolina is one of them. So if you want that report, go to listingsincharleston.com, click on the contact tab. Again, listingsincharleston.com and say remodeling report, and I will send this right over to you. But here are some things you have to understand about this report. They went in to say in this report that you have to think about this report kind of like greige. Greige. If you've never heard of that word, greige is a mixture between gray and beige. I mean, it's the hottest color out there for paint. Go into any new construction home right now, and that's the color they're painting the models. Go into any home that's being flipped right now, professional, and that's what they're painting the walls. I mean, heck, my entire house is a mixture of gray, beige, and blue. And it's all the same color, but when the light hits the wall at different angles, some walls look gray, some look dark gray, some look bluish, some look beigeish. Beigeish, there's a new word. But anyway, this year's report is more about small incremental improvements rather than those big, colorful, gigantic projects. So curb appeal projects, interestingly enough, changes to doors, windows, siding, by and large, generated higher return on investments than work done inside the house. Meanwhile, if you look at the projects that call for replacing something, like a door or window, they scored higher among real estate agents than remodeling did. So in general, the lower priced the project, this is how you have to think about this. The lower priced the project, the higher the percentage of cost that goes into materials. There's not a huge percentage there for labor. So over this past year, something like, manufactured stone veneer, the cost increased like 5%, but the cost to install a steel door went up 6%, and the price to put on fiberglass insulation rose 6%. But in contrast, if you look at the really expensive projects, upscale bathroom remodels, master suite additions, second story additions, family room additions, they by far saw the biggest year-over-year increases in value compared to last year. So consumers, I think, often are surprised to see how some of these remodeling projects are actually faring up when they determine the cost versus the actual value. So as an example, the lowest return on investment in all of the cost versus value report is a mid-range bathroom addition. Believe it or not, it only paid back 54% of the cost. There wasn't a single kitchen or bathroom project ranked higher than 17 out of 29 projects in this report. Why? Well, first, these projects involve remodeling something to make it better rather than just replacing something that's broken. Secondly, if you look at kitchens and bathrooms, they're inside the house, and real estate agents are tending more to look at things that are outside of the house, curb appeal related jobs. I mean, they're saying that exterior projects had a payback of 75% nationally, whereas interior projects only returned 63.5%. Third, and just as importantly, is that kitchens and bathrooms take a lot of skilled labor, expensive labor. And then finally, kitchens and bathrooms, no matter what, they don't score as high because kitchens and bathrooms are very personal rooms in the house. Your idea of a dream kitchen might be some ornamented, traditional French-style cuisine-based kitchen, but the buyer that's looking for your house might want something sleek and ultra-modern. It's just two totally different things. So you've got a wide variety of preference in kitchens and bathrooms, which is why they're not scoring so high. So let me tell you what this is. Let me give you some Charleston-based stats really quickly because I've only got like 2 minutes left. And I wish I had more time. But again, if you want this report, it has 29 different projects on it. I paid for it. I downloaded it. I'll give it to you if you go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and just go to contact and ask for the remodeling report. But in the mid-range project type, the top 3 projects that had the best return on investment, number 1 was attic insulation, which was 104% of the job being recouped. Second was siding replacement. You got 85% of your money back. And third was a family room addition. You got 79% of your money back. The worst was a bathroom remodel. You only got 43% of your money on a bathroom remodel. Now, on the flip side, more upscale projects, the thing that returned the most money, interesting enough, was a bathroom addition. Second to that was a garage door replacement, which they had at about $3,300. It gave you 76% ROI. And then the third was a master suite addition that gave you 76% of your money back, but they're estimating that it would cost $247,000. Would not suggest spending that much money if you need to sell your house. The worst on there was a bathroom remodel. So you're starting to see this trend here. You're not going to get a ton of money back if you're doing a high-end bathroom remodel, which they have as being $60,000. It's a very personalized room. And people ask me all the time, Brian, what do I need to do to fix up my house to sell it for more money? I always tell people to pump the brakes and allow me to walk through the house so that I can tell you where to find the most value and create the most value rather than just, signing a blank check and saying, let's spend all our money here. So if that's something I can help you with, you're thinking about selling this year, we'd love to help you. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 345-1273. Or go to my website if you want that report, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Thanks so much, Charleston. I'm out of time, but it's been a fun hour. And thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com.